What's up, it's your boy KC. How y'all doing? Doing something strictly for the anime fans. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite animes of all time, Dragon Ball Z. A couple of years back I did a video on my channel about the history of Trunks and what I thought about it, and a couple of questions that popped up in my mind, and I wanted to go into more detail about that because for the most part I love the history of Trunks Dragon Ball Z special. I love everything about it because it's so interesting to see the villains get the upper hand. I mean, you look at that movie and look at the timeline that Trunks comes from. All the Z fighters are dead. Goku died of a heart virus, and then 6 months later all the Z fighters are killed except for Gohan. Gohan fights for 13 years against androids 17 and 18 and is eventually killed. Now, what anime shows a dark ending like that where everybody is dead? That's crazy. So it's so unique in that aspect, something you wouldn't expect. But there's a bunch of questions that pop up in my mind that I would like to ask you guys, and I will go more into detail and analyze this, and y'all tell me what you think. Number one, where is King Kai in all of this? Doesn't King Kai have the ability to talk to anybody on Earth? He could have talked to Trunks or Gohan for that matter and told them what they needed to do. Instead of Trunks going back in time, King Kai could have told him where the Namek Dragon Balls were, or Gohan. They could have both went to New Namek. They could have wished for the Z Fighters back, except Goku, because Goku died of natural causes and cannot be brought back. For the people who don't know that, he could have wished back Piccolo, he could have wished back Vegeta, Yamcha, Krillin, Tien, all those guys that have died in the battle, and it could have made a difference. Because knowing them, if you put Piccolo and you put Vegeta and Gohan and Trunks and they go in the hyperbolic time chamber and they train for just one day, one of them I'm sure could be strong enough to kill the androids, at least one-on-one. And number two, on the subject of Goku, they could have did exactly what they did in the World Martial Arts Tournament arc 7 years after the Cell Saga. They could have sent Goku back to Earth for one day. By the time Gohan was killed, that was 13 years later. Can you imagine how strong Goku would be at that time? If they decided to send him back, he would have been a Super Saiyan 3. That would have been more than enough to kill both Android 17 and 18 and Cell if need be. They could have simply did that. I don't understand why they never did it. It always bothered me. Or they could have just simply sent Goku back to train with his son, future Gohan, and gotten Gohan stronger, at least a full-powered Super Saiyan or maybe a Super Saiyan 2, because if you remember, in the future, the androids in the future are not as strong as the androids in the main timeline that we know. And that's another thing that gets me is future Gohan. Now, future Gohan is badass. By all means, he's probably the greatest version of Gohan you will ever see besides Super Saiyan 2 that we see in the Cell Saga. The thing that bothers me is his strength. I don't get how after 13 years, this kid has been fighting the androids for 13 years with all the Zenkai boosts that kid has been getting, being near death and all the injuries that he sustained. You mean to tell me that he could not beat at least one of the androids? And I know that there are some people out there that are thinking, well, it depends on when Gohan turned into a Super Saiyan. And I believe, for one, that he probably turned Super Saiyan after Piccolo and the rest of them were killed. Because how else would he become a Super Saiyan? It couldn't have been from his father, because his father died of natural causes. He died of a heart virus. And he even says in the anime that I think about how the androids killed Krillin and killed Piccolo. And if he became a Super Saiyan then, that means that Gohan was very young when he became a Super Saiyan. Don't you think? So that you mean to tell me that after all that time, with all that training and all that fighting and all the Zenkai boosts and the hidden potential that Gohan still has, because this is the same Gohan who fought through the Saiyan arc, who fought through the Frieza arc, and became a Super Saiyan at a young age, which is what I believe. After all that time, he's still weaker than both of the androids. That is bullshit. Because I believe if you give any one of the main Z fighters, Piccolo, Vegeta, Yamcha, Tien, if you give them 13 years to do nothing but training and fighting, I know for a fact that one of them would be strong enough to kill at least one of the androids one-on-one. Another thing I've always wondered, Does Android 16 exist in the original timeline that Cell comes from and Future Trunks' timeline? I feel that he does, and this is what I feel happened. I don't know if it may be true or not, but I think Android 16 does exist in both those timelines. I feel that he may have been destroyed along with Dr. Giro's laboratory, because I don't think they ever activated him. I think they just killed Giro, blew up the lab, and just went on about their business to terrorize the Earth. That's what I feel happened to him. I don't know if that's true or not, but how other way could that have happened? If they had activated him, he would have been there. Not necessarily to help the androids destroy the Earth and kill people. He would have been there just to be there, because the only purpose Android 16 was created for was to kill Goku. But with Goku being dead 6 months before the androids were released, what purpose would he serve? If he's the same android that we have in the main timeline, he would have no interest in terrorizing the Earth. So if that being said, maybe they would have just killed him after activating him, because he didn't want to go along with the fun of killing humans, quotation marks, as the androids like to put it, and having fun in games and terrorizing people. So maybe that's what happened to him. Those are two possibilities I want to throw out there. And a question that's been floating around out there in the Dragon Ball Z world or Dragon Ball universe, whatever you want to call it, is does Majin Buu exist in Future Trunks' timeline and Cell's timeline? I like to try to give my own answer of what I think. They always said that Majin Buu does exist, and I believe that he does. He's always existed. I just believe that somewhere along the line he was sealed up, and there was nobody out there that could give the type of energy that a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan could give, because Gohan, future Gohan, never made it to that level. So I believe that Buu just lays dormant in that timeline until maybe Trunks gets strong enough to where Babidi could attempt to steal energy from future Trunks. That's what I think. Buu does exist, just nobody can release him, because nobody has the power to. And that's what I think. Tell me what y'all think about everything that I said in this video. I've always wondered these things. I would love to have the conversations with all of you. Give me some comments, give me some likes, and subscribe to my channel, KC the Most. I'll check you out later. Peace.